That was the Cal Varsity Rugby team celebrating shortly after winning the 2025 National Championship last season in Indianapolis. If you know anything about Cal Rugby, you know it's the preeminent rugby program in the entire nation. Have you ever wondered what makes it such a dominant and successful program? Well, you're going to want to stay tuned today because it's our very special episode featuring the head coach of the vaunted Cal Varsity Rugby program, Jack Clark. Welcome to Tell the Whole Damn World. It's Monday, March 2nd, 2026. The Cal baseball team swept Sacramento State and won their sixth game in a row, and it's another great day to be a Bear. I'm your host, Reza Serafinajad. We appreciate you tuning in. We're the podcast that celebrates all things Cal. We produce on-camera interviews with the prominent people who are passionate about our university and our sports teams. If you're unabashedly and unapologetically all about Cal, you've found the right place. We hope to put a smile on your face and help you come away feeling good about your connection to the greatest university on the planet. We would love it if you would take a moment to like and subscribe. It helps us more than you know. And please tell all your friends about us. And remember, you can always go to our YouTube channel to watch any of our previous episodes. And if you'd like to buy some awesome TTWDW merchandise and help support the podcast, you can always go to tellthewholedamnworld.com. Before we get into it today, let's quickly get you up to speed on what's happening in the world of Cal sports. As I noted at the top of the show, the Cal baseball team has been on a serious roll lately. The Golden Bears swept Sacramento State in the three-game series and improved to 8-3 this season. The Cal softball team, behind a no-hitter from sophomore Lena Gerhard, emphatically beat East Texas A&M 16-0 in the Judy Garman Classic in Fullerton. It was the first no-hitter thrown by a Golden Bear pitcher in 8 years. Cal is now 8-14 this season. The number 4 Cal women's water polo team beat number 5 Arizona State, scoring the winning goal with only 1 second left to come away with an 11-10 victory in Tempe. The Golden Bears are now 9-3 overall, 1-1 in the MPSF. The number 7 Cal women's tennis team beat Wake Forest 4-1 to improve to 5-1 overall this season, 3-1 in the ACC. The men's tennis team beat North Carolina to claim its first ACC victory of the season. The Golden Bears are now 8-6 overall, 1-1 in the ACC. The number 10 beach volleyball team beat both USF and Pacific, winning every set in 5-0 victories at the Clark Kerr Sand Courts. The Golden Bears have won 5 straight and are 5-4 overall this season. The men's basketball team claimed a huge victory over SMU at Haas on Wednesday night, but then laid an egg on Saturday in a loss to Pitt. The Golden Bears are currently 20-9 overall, 8-8 in the ACC, with 2 games left to play on the road in the regular season. We'll plan to release another episode with Eddie, Matt, and John to give you our thoughts on whether Cal makes it to the NCAA tournament. And in women's basketball, the Golden Bears beat SMU like a drum at Haas Pavilion, winning 78-34. Cal hit 15 three-point shots and improved to 18-13 overall, 9-9 in the ACC. Sit tight, and I'll be right back with my Cal Hall of Fame co-host, Ahmad Anderson, the former football player who created Bear Territory and is running for mayor of Richmond. And together, we'll spend some time talking with the legendary head coach of the Cal Varsity Rugby team, Jack Clark. You may have noticed that we use the word legend around here quite a bit, and we sometimes worry that if we use it too often, it loses its impact. But how else do you describe some of our amazing guests over the past 15 months? Many of the guests we've been fortunate enough to have on are indeed legends in their respective sports. So how do we begin to describe Jack Clark, a man who has dedicated his life to the varsity rugby program at Cal and has lifted it to heights that seem almost impossible to believe? The man sounds like a myth for his tremendous impact on Cal Rugby. Just listen to some of these staggering numbers. Since taking over as head coach in 1984, the Cal Varsity Rugby team has won 742 matches in 15s and another 248 in sevens. I'll do the math for you. That's 990 victories to date. In 15s, the Golden Bears are a combined 42 and 5 against rugby powerhouses Army, Navy, and Air Force, had a winning streak of 115 matches over U.S. collegiate competition between 2004 and 2009. Have had numerous other winning streaks of 60 or more matches, and had a historic streak of 12 consecutive national titles from 1991 to 2002. I could go on to tell you about the 157 All-Americans and dozens of players he has produced who have gone on to the U.S. national 15s team, and tell you how he served as head coach for the collegiate All-America team and the USA national team. He's received the Craig Sweeney Award, the Glenn T. Seaborg Award, and is in the U.S. Rugby Hall of Fame, not to mention the Cal Hall of Fame, and later this May will be inducted into the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame as part of the 2026 class. But beyond all of that, most notably, including last season under Coach Clark, the Golden Bears have captured a total of 30 national championships. That's a mic drop, ladies and gentlemen. In short, it's widely recognized that the Cal Varsity Rugby program is the most successful and dominant collegiate sports program in U.S. history across any sport. And the primary reason for that is with us here today as our featured guest. We are thrilled and deeply honored to welcome Jack Clark to the show today. We appreciate you making the time, Coach.
Yeah, pleased to be here, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, hey, I know we got a lot to cover, so we're going to just got to start right at the beginning for you. And you're a sixth generation Californian. When did your ancestors first come to California, and how far back can you track your lineage?
Yeah, I mean, mid 1800s, and the gold rush, the McAfees were looking for a better way of life, So you come to America and you go west and you make your way up to the foothills, and you become part of a new economy, the gold economy.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, because I was just trying to think back, and I didn't know if it dated back, quite as far as the gold rush, but 1880s, huh? That's when they first moved out here, huh?
Mid 1800s, right? So for many years, would go grab my dear grandmother, and we'd go up to a place called Grizzly Flats, which that's like above Placerville on your way to Tahoe, and we would tend to the graves of my great 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 grandparents and my great great grandparents in this old pioneer cemetery, and then have a lunch and go back home, But it was
Wow.
yeah, it was fantastic, and I still get to do it. I just don't do it as much now that my grandmother's gone.
That's good stuff, man.
Well, man, if you're talking about being a Californian through and through, that certainly seems like that applies to you for sure. Well, and you were raised in Huntington Beach. You excelled in a lot of sports growing up. What inspired you to get into rugby? And was there a specific coach who had a early impact on you?
Well, my sports growing up were football and basketball were my main sports. In the spring, I dabbled in baseball and track and field, and but football and basketball were my main sports. I did have a football coach early on who had played some rugby, and I would go, on the weekends during the off season, watch him play rugby. So I knew a little bit about the sport, not a lot. But when you come to Cal, somebody taps you on the shoulder right away. Football's over. It's time to go play rugby. And okay, well, that sounds all right. And of course, the game will always look attractive, right? I mean, if you like basketball, rugby has, obviously court sport and field sport are very different, but the skills required, you got to pass the ball to other people that are in a better position than you. There's a contest to win possession. I mean, the games aren't entirely different. So, a basketball background, a football background. Rugby was at that time a very attractive sport to me, something that I thought I could be pretty good at if I worked at it.
Well, look, Coach, you talked about coming to Cal and being tapped on your shoulder. Tell me how you first learned about Cal in the first place. How did you get here? What made you look over your shoulder, look in front of you, and say, "Hmm, Cal."
Yeah. It was during the football recruiting process. When you, I don't think I grew up with much of a understanding of University of California, Berkeley. You know, you grow up in Southern California and it's, USC football and it's UCLA basketball at a very young age. Middle school, start following those sports. But yeah, during football recruiting, I thought, Cal had a very good year the year before. And when I came on a trip, I liked the coaches. I liked the area. It seemed a little bit different than going to a Southern California university, and I liked the
Mhm.
idea of going away to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was probably later than you would think. I mean, I think my memory is that it was all about USC and UCLA as a boy, but yeah, I mean, I fell in love with Cal.
Look, I'm not going to trip over my words, but I'll tell you that I looked up to you, and I've said this to you a gazillion times when I see you. But when I got here in 1978 and saw you around the campus talking to people, in and out, Bob Orr, Paul, Dave, those guys, and I heard your story. I heard who you were, and you were a stand-up guy. I looked up to you, and just as a giant of a man, but a humble giant. Um, and in the brief times that I had conversations with you, you were always kind to me, very supportive of me. You later knew my walking onto the team and becoming a starter, and that smile you're giving now was really helpful through the process. Now, where I went left is knowing you played football and rugby. And so I got tapped on that shoulder by the Joe Coopers and the Tuggles and the Kasheris and my man Don James trying to get out there and play. And I said, yeah, no pads, I'm out. So you make great relationships. I've had relationships with a lot of the guys on the rugby team because of that relationship from football and going to see the matches. But you played alongside, and there are many greats, Joe Roth. And, I know how we protect each other, but you did so on the field and you were a friend of his as well. If you could tell me a little bit about that relationship, and even if you're willing, a little bit about the relationship with Joe in his final year.
Yeah, well, we just had the anniversary. It was
Yes.
last Thursday, wasn't it? Last Thursday of Joe's passing. Yeah, well, out of high school, I wanted to keep playing basketball, so I went to Orange Coast Community College, Orange Coast College, to play where I played football and basketball the first year, and it was my freshman year. We played in the state championship game, and we played Grossmont. We played Joe's team, and Joe picked us apart. I mean, typical. We couldn't get to him. His release was very quick, super accurate. You know, really saw the field very well. He just never held on to the ball, and he put it where he wanted. So they beat us, and then I wouldn't have seen Joe again until recruitment after my sophomore season at Orange Coast. And when I came on my recruiting trip, you talk to the coaches, and they assigned a host player and everything. But I had a meeting with Joe, and when Joe says, "I want you to come, be on the line for me," to me that was it. Okay, I'm coming. There's a few reasons probably to come to Cal, but Joe Roth says he wants you. That's one of them, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, a very special guy. What is it that I think Tony Dungy was the first one to say it. He called Joe around the time of his death, as he talked about him as the uncommon man, and I think that's really what he was. He seemed he seemed a little bit better at everything than all of us, right? A little bit more mature, better athlete, just all around a pretty remarkable human being.
Yes.
And Ahmad, you asked the last year, I mean, it was like business as usual until his cancer came back. And,
Yeah.
so what was the last year? So, I think it's February, right? So when he
Mm-hmm.
died, so it's in August and everything's fine. And we opened the season in Georgia between the hedges, and Joe was really good. I mean, nowadays everyone throws for so many yards, but back then he took for 300 yards.
Yeah.
And I mean, he really lit it up. He was good. We lost that game narrowly, maybe by a touchdown or maybe 10 points, something like that. And it wasn't long after that. I think his backup was Fred Basana, and I think Freddie tells a story that was around our third kind of preseason game, which was Arizona State. They weren't in the conference at that time. Frank Cush and the Arizona State Sun Devils and
Yeah.
in the desert.
Yeah.
And I think Joe started talking to the medical staff at that time about the reoccurrence of some stuff he was worried about. And I think Freddie tells the story that it was like, it was right then that things changed, right? And now we didn't really know it. I know that Joe was fighting his cancer before it became public, and that was before it became public on our team as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we played that season not knowing that Joe's cancer had returned and that he was going through treatments. I guess in retrospect, he wasn't maybe the All-American quarterback he was the previous season, but Joe's status was such that if there's something wrong with Joe, it's got to be our fault, right? It can't be Joe's. I mean, Joe's just consistently too good, too prepared, too ready, too accurate. So it was really when the season was over, when it became public and Joe became public about it. He was always courageous, right? I mean, there's this, the thing about courage in Joe is a very real thing. I mean, he was a very courageous guy around it. He didn't, there was no woe was me. It was just get on with it, do your best. We'd go over to his apartment when he was sick towards the very end. And even then he would be the first guy, if he could, to, crack a joke and make everyone else feel comfortable, just just a very special human being. There should be a statue of Joe Roth on this campus, right? The idea that there's not is just a shame. It speaks to one of our liabilities, and that's that, everyone always leaves. There's not many people that hang around long periods of time over decades. And so even if somebody knew about Joe and they're gone, they're long gone, all those people are. And so to get the inertia to go do something like create a statue about a very special human being
Yep.
who deserves a statue it's just not even, it's not in the conversation anymore. And that's a shame.
Well, hopefully somebody is listening. I hear you, and as one of the board members of the Alumni Association, I brought it up before, and I will continue to bring it up again. Look, we have so many bear statues and all kinds of other statues on this campus, but Joe was living, breathing, truly a model of what Fiat Lux was really all about, and the quality of not just student athletes, but students that we want to come out of the University of California at Berkeley. So I appreciate those words, and I've got it. I've got it.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Cheers.
So Mike White recently passed away. Knew Mike. I came in after he had left, year after he left, but Mike was special to me, um, the way many of former coaches and folks have been. He watched me, he followed me, he spoke to me after games when we played. So much so that later on, when my second youngest son, who played on one of the championship teams of McClymonds High School, um, didn't seem to be getting a lot of feelers. He was a backup quarterback, but he was very talented. Uh, I could just call him. Mike says, Ahmad, what's up, coach? Like, what's going on, man? And I'm thinking he's coming in town, get together for lunch, things like that. He said, I heard your son isn't getting any feelers. I said, nah. He said, well, I'm coming up. Uh, bring him by, brought him by, talked to him, felt him out. Didn't have him run, just looked at him. He's tall, 6'1" guy, quarterback, agile. And he says, look, we got a camp down here at Carson. I want you to bring him down. We've got a couple of D2s coming out all over the country. It's a combine. Bring him down. Told my mom. My mom was like, look, what do you think? I said, look, if coach says he thinks I'm the dad, I'm biased. But if coach says he's got an opportunity with some of these cats, let's do it. My mother gave us the credit card, just turned and said, grandson, do what you need to do, make the flight, make the hotel, but you come back with a scholarship. If Mike had not provided the opportunity, my son would have not been able to play football at Nichols College in Massachusetts. He had never seen him play. He just knew me. And that's all he wanted to do was meet him and understand the character. So as a true golden bear through and through, and just saying that piece, talk about what Mike meant to you and recruited you out of Cal. And understanding that from an early age that it resonated with you like that. What kind of impact did that have on you as well?
Yeah. Coach was a very charismatic guy, right?
Yeah.
We used to say he could talk a dog off a meat wagon,
Man.
and talk fast, right?
Oh, God. Yeah.
And he was an offensive line coach, and when he, was at Stanford, that was a position that he coached as an assistant, and as an offensive lineman, I think you can get close to him for that reason. I think probably met with him 4 or 5 times. I'm not sure about the legality of all of that. I got to think that. I think
That's my white baby.
I met with him a few times. I don't know that they were all legal, but I kidded him. We became friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we stayed in contact over many decades, and I used to kid him about it and he doesn't even remember saying it to me, but I went to visit him, and he was in LA, and he was in a hotel room, and the assistant coach takes you up and you go have a quick meeting with him, and he says, I've been thinking about this. You'd be a good rugby player. And it twisted me up. I have to admit, I tell him the story that I got back in the elevator, and I said, what the hell, maybe he doesn't think I can play football, right? I mean, what's this rugby thing? I mean, I'm all for some rugby, but I want to play football, right?
Yeah.
And he laughs about it now, but I think there was just something that he would have saw in my, kind of athletic signature that led him to believe that I would be a good rugby player. And of course, MW played rugby when he was at Cal.
Yep.
And as one of his sports. Now, I think he was, in the reserves for Pete Newell's basketball team, and
yeah.
And maybe track and field as well. And he had a bunch of, but he
everywhere.
He was a legitimate good rugby player at Cal, and continued to play afterwards for a little bit, on kind of senior adult sides, and around his coaching, I believe. Special human being. It's great to think that you had coaches that made a real impact on you, and I think Mike's impact was around people. MW was the original connector. He wanted to connect people, and your story, Ahmad, is a good example of that. And he was always willing to give a favor, and he knew how to call in favors as well.
Man. Yes.
When he would he'd make his trips to Cal, he would just call up and say, well, I'm coming on this date, and it was for all of us that were his devotees to make sure that he had the right tickets and the right parking and the right everything. Had to get him and Marilyn from where they were at their hotel
to the wherever.
he had taxi drivers, the whole,
Oh my goodness, we were
but,
the original Ubers. Trust me.
yeah, it was always a pleasure though, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Very, very special guy. And he had a very good coaching staff as well. You in football especially, you got to rely on the head coach to, surround the athletes on the team with other good coaches, right? And my first offensive line coach was Jim Erkenbeck, and
Mm,
Jim was went on to long career in the NFL, and he was a retired lieutenant colonel in the Marines, and he was right out of Central Casting in that role, right? And NW was a little bit like a leading man himself, right? Handsome guy that could talk. And
my goodness.
yeah, I mean, nothing but really, really fond memories of Coach White.
Yes,
And
sir.
yeah, I think all of the guys that played for Coach during my time at Cal really revered him. We really thought highly of him, and you know, very special man.
Yeah. No, those are some great stories, guys. I mean, both you guys obviously knew him so well, and
Yeah.
certainly sounded wonderfully charismatic. That's for sure, and just deeply beloved by the Cal community. And yeah, I mean, talking about coaches and how you got into coaching. I mean, it sounds to me like, from what I've read about you, at least, it sounds like you always kind of knew that you wanted to get into coaching. And can you walk us through what your thought process was when you decided to join Cal as a part-time assistant under Ned Anderson?
Yeah, I think it was just that I felt like I'd won the lottery with coaches. Um I don't think I ever had a bad coach, right? I mean, I had people that as a young boy playing sports, and I mean, I was a sports mad kid, man. Everything was about sports. And these coaches, they believed in me more than you believe in yourself, right? And you develop a closeness to them, every bit as close as I was with my own parents. Some of these coaches, I mean, they made a real impact on me. So yeah, I guess I always thought, from high school on, boy, that'd be a good job, being a coach. Get to work with other people, being around sports. That'd be a good job. And by the time I finish in at Cal, it's like, I probably want to make some money though, right? I mean, and so that means you don't coach, or you coach in one of two sports, right? And isn't that's really what
Yeah.
the situation is. And I knew early on that if you want to go coach football, which sounded pretty good to me, pack a bag, because you're gonna have a different place. You're gonna live in a different place in this country over the next 10, 15 years, and you're gonna keep moving. And that didn't sound that good to me. I liked being a Californian. I liked living here. It didn't jump out at me as that would be a great plan to go wherever the job was, and then go wherever the next job was. And so I'd made the decision that I'd go into business, and got good jobs. And then Ned was a very interesting mentor in that regard, because Ned was a real estate executive that would, kind of take off his necktie and go coach the rugby team in the afternoons. And I thought, well, I could do that. That might be a good thing. And so I became Ned's assistant, and I put a lot of time into it. I think back to my assistant coaching days, and maybe even no, not maybe, for sure, my early days as a head coach, and hurry up and try harder. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd already played for the national team. I'd played for a World 15 at that point. I mean, I think it was a pretty good player, but that doesn't necessarily make you a good coach. And so I put everything I had into wanting to be a good coach, and the motivations were, you had a responsibility over these athletes, and you wanted to put them in a position where they could develop into being their very best player, and collectively we could go win some games. So I took it I took it serious, maybe more serious than a lot of rugby coaches would have. And Ned was a great example of all of that, and he allowed me a lot of rope. He was a young father of 3 and a big job, and so me showing up, going, I got time, I can do this. I think he gave me a lot of responsibility, and I felt pretty ready come 1984 to be the head coach. I still had a lot to learn, but I felt ready, and I think Ned was the reason I felt ready.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're only the sixth
Yeah,
coach in
yeah,
team history in a
yeah.
sport that dates back to 1882, the oldest sport on campus. And it was already well established as an elite program, but you've taken it to a whole new level. Can you tell us what it means to you to be a part of the storied history of this great program?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. I mean, I spend a lot of time trying to uh, remember the past to the present, to ground our players in that tradition, in that history. And then I spent a fair bit of time talking to people who have played at Cal Rugby previously, and introducing them to the guys we have today. And they're cut from the same cloth, right? I mean, they're very, very similar. So yeah, I'm right in the middle of all of that, and I feel a deep responsibility to get it right, and that means the whole of the program building job. It doesn't just mean coaching the team, which is the thing I get the most satisfaction from, but it also means money. You got to raise money. Philanthropy is real, right? I mean, we've probably, in my time, you know, I think we've probably raised close to $50 million, a lot of money, right? And there's 30 of that in the endowment, which will fund the program forever, right? And so that responsibility is it's in my portfolio, right? I mean, I don't get to ring up somebody in the athletic department and say, "Hey, we need something." It's like, well, go get busy raising the money, and then get the approval for what you want to what you want to buy. So there's that responsibility. There's facilities, the field, the Doc Hudson Fieldhouse, Witter Rugby Field. All of that stuff is in my portfolio. So I guess what it feels like is there's a lot of work to do, and I get to be the Pied Piper to do all of that. I get to convince other people it's really a fun job, and come help me paint the fence, I think, is what Huck Finn did, right? And so I've become pretty good at convincing other people that this is a rewarding thing to do. And
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of responsibility.
No, I mean that's so interesting to hear. I mean, just having that sense of responsibility that you owe it to the program to do your very best to steward it, to keep it going and to elevate it. And I mean, you're now in your 43rd year as head coach, 30 national titles. You've created this lasting legacy that's almost impossible to put into words. What do you think is the secret sauce that makes you such a great head coach?
Well, I've never thought about myself
If you say so yourself.
as a great head coach. Yeah, I don't even know if there's a secret sauce, right? I think I have a good idea of what my responsibilities are, though, and what role I play. I've tried to have some discipline around that, to remember that the boys on the team, they've got families, right? They've got friends. They're not looking for a new pal, right? What they only have one of is a coach, right?
Mhm.
And so I've tried to stay really disciplined to be that coach, not to grab a redundant role that other people are already filling. And because some of those roles are a lot of fun and they're enjoyable, there is that very unconditional role as a parent. And I feel that unconditional love for those guys, but that's not my job. My job is to be very conditional about our relationship, and to let them know what great is, what good is, and what we got to do better. And So I suppose, having a clear understanding of what my responsibilities are, and staying in my lane, if you will, and that's been a help in coaching the team over the years. And then just trying to see everything we do through their eyes is pretty important too, right? I mean, I know I coach guys that go to sleep at night playing. They want to win a national championship. They want to play for America. They want to go to the Olympics. They want to
Mm-hmm.
go play national rugby. They want to go to grad school at Oxford. They want to, and I've always wanted to own those dreams with them, right? I mean, I have always wanted to help those dreams come true, right? And they vary, right? I mean, some guys, they're not going to play for the national team. They're not going to the Olympic Games. They're going to go pro in something other than rugby. And for them, it's just getting on the field, right? They want to
Yep.
get on the field in a meaningful game and to have that experience. And so, everybody's got dreams, and I try to remember what they're trying to do and try to help them do it. The saying is, getting from where they are to where they want to be, right? And
Yep.
that's really what I do for a living.
Well, as you speak to that, Coach, when you're looking back and even moving forward in some way, is there an achievement in particular that you're proud of accomplishing thus far, or is there something that you're still looking at that you want to accomplish at while being here at Cal?
Well, I'm proud of what we've achieved, and I say that not thinking about shiny goblets in the showcase necessarily. I think our guys are getting a PhD in team, and
Amen.
I think they'll take that really acute understanding of team into their families, into their communities, and into their workplaces. I think it's a real thing. I don't necessarily believe it's taught everywhere at Cal, right? I mean, I'm sure somebody in ROTC would say, wait a minute, we're doing some stuff here. And obviously, students work in a collaborative fashion on some projects. It's not what we do, right? It's not the same as what sports teams do. So I'm proud of the kind of proving ground and the person we matriculate. And if careers matter, it's the former commanding officer at Top Gun to the partner at Goldman Sachs to in the Valley,
Yes, sir.
politicians to doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs, right? So I'm proud that we are making a contribution in that way. That's probably the most significant thing that we're doing here.
Well, I've been waiting to ask this question of you because it's just something that hits me so close to my heart. This motto that the Cal Varsity Rugby team has: grateful for everything, entitled to nothing. Where did that and how did that all come together?
Well, through observation, right? I mean, most of the things that I've learned through my team. It's a pretty outstanding laboratory, really. I mean, you have all of these, fired up, game competent subjects, and they're out there doing their thing. And if you're observing them at all, right? If you care to observe, I think I saw that in them. I think is what I did, and I do some consulting and I do some speaking, and you need some things to say when people pay you to get up and talk, and
Yes.
so so I that was the origin of it. And now that I know that those signs are in 100 really good high performance businesses around the country and a couple overseas, and I'm really proud of authoring that statement, or that we call it a mindset is what we call it. We we say, our motto is a Latin phrase to be known by your deeds, and we say the mindset is grateful for everything, entitled to nothing.
Yes, sir.
And it's something really powerful about being truly grateful, right? And for all those people doing something for you. There's plenty of entitlement in the world, and believe it or not, there's plenty of entitlement in student athletes. I think it's pretty amazing that you can put your soiled clothes on a laundry loop and you throw it in this thing and you come back the next day and they're in your locker clean, right? And there's just so many.
Plenty of guys that want to throw their wash in that little net bag.
Yeah.
That I know.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's powerful to be grateful, right? To grateful for these other people, and then just this idea that um, entitlement, and I'm not referring to social entitlements because some of those are very real, right? I'm talking to just these entitlements where you think you're owed something in sport or in academics or in business, and it doesn't work that way, really, right? And I found that the less we thought we were owed something, the tougher we got, the more resilient we got, right? And I thought, well, heck, that's one of the things we're trying to achieve here is that level of non-cognitive grit, that perseverance, and it's hard to get there if you think it's someone else's job to help you, right? I mean, I think we have to assume that the best team is going to play their best against us, right? They typically do. So why don't we just account for that? And that, the wind's going to blow into our face, both halves, and the referee is not going to have much love for us. And once you assume those things are going to happen and you just get busy thinking you're not entitled to a better lot than that, it helps you win, I believe, and helps you achieve. So super proud of that phrase.
Absolutely. Well, no, I mean, it's just something that when I first heard it, I was just floored because, I mean, that just seems like if you adopt that mindset in life, there's almost nothing that you can't overcome or achieve. I mean, it's just so incredibly powerful. And in talking about that, overcoming challenges,
Hmm,
Robert Paylor,
hmm.
can you talk to us a little about your relationship with him?
Um, yeah, I mean, I love him and I care deeply about him, and I've never been more proud of a human being ever, right? We recruited Robert out of Jesuit High School up in Sacramento, and he was a pretty decent football player. He was a better rugby player, and he had a lot of potential because he very clearly had that non-cognitive grit I'm referring to, right? He embodied that, and you could tell. And he played for us pretty early. He played for us as an underclassman, as a starter, and he was probably on his way to being a very, very, very good rugby player when he was injured. And um, I remember when he first got hurt, we would obviously spend a lot of time going to see him at his various hospitals. He was at one point in Craig Hospital in Denver, outside of Denver.
Mhm.
But he stayed in the South Bay for a while. He was at a good hospital there, and we would go see him, and a lot of other people. There was a coordination of to go see him, and one of the fathers tells a story, of having 5 or 6 of our players in the car, and they were going across the bridge to go see Robert, and the father just says, "Good thing this happened to Robert, because the rest of you'd be in big trouble if this happened to you. Thankfully, it
Mhm.
happened to Robert." And
Mm.
I think that just sums up how we all felt. Like, I mean, we were just sick that it happened. But man, if anyone's going to do this, right? If anyone's going to, uh, how do we present date this? If anyone's going to go have a really good speaking career, write a successful book, uh,
Yeah.
marry the prettiest girl, and have a baby, it's paralyzed. It's going to be Robert, right? And that's what he's done. Remarkable human being, man of faith, which helps him quite a bit.
Yes.
I think he relies heavily on his faith. Yeah, I mean, very special guy.
Well, I know he loves you, coach. And, we were fortunate enough to have him on early on when we started this podcast. And I was just blown away by his attitude and perspective on life. And it's all really comes back to, in addition to his faith, you. and that motto and everything that the Cal Varsity Rugby program has meant to him and how it has shaped him as a human being. So,
Yeah.
just wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Gonna just ask a couple of questions here, real quickly about this year's team, because you guys are rolling right along, and doing pretty well. You won the national championship last year. What can you tell us about this year's team, and do you see a lot of similarities between last year and this year?
We returned a good team from last year's national championship team. Not complete. We lost our two-time captain and tight end prop. That's a position on a rugby team in the scrum. It has a lot of pressure. It's the hardest position on the field to play. And we had the best player in the country at that position, which helped us win a championship. And now we have a bunch of guys, trying to do that, and we're getting it done to some degree. We've got more time on the clock here before we get into single elimination. But we've lost some key players, but we returned a very good team, and those players are all a year older, and there's some real campaigners in the group. I mean, men that understand competition, they understand teamship, they understand showing up at your best when your best is needed, and it's fun to be around them, right? So I think we're a pretty good team. We're no team is probably complete. We've been hit with a lot of injuries this year, which is still affecting us. We lost another player, a very good player. Will be on the shelf now for a few weeks. So, injuries play a part in our game, and we have to get through that. And now is the bulk of our competition, where we've got the United States of America's Naval Academy coming to Berkeley in 2 weeks' time, and they got stuff, right? I mean, they got aircraft carriers and helicopters and jets and thousands of good men, right? So it's going to be quite a challenge for us. I think they're the number one team, I think, in the nation right now. I think maybe in one poll they're 1 and we're 2, and maybe they're 1 and we're 3 or 4 in the other poll. So that'll be a big challenge. And then when we're done with that, we'll head to West Point in March, right after the homecoming match in Strawberry Canyon with Navy, and early mid-March along the Hudson River with a biting wind in your face. That's a hard place to go play and to go win, and we're looking forward to the challenge. And then we have a good local game. St. Mary's is a good rugby team, and so March is a very difficult month for us. And I think we'll know a lot more about what kind of a team we have at the end of the month. Either way, we'll get into the postseason, and we'll have to find a way to be good 4 times, right? You got to win four matches to win the national championship. So. It's a good team. It's fun to be around them. The leadership is pretty special. It's pretty diverse. There's a lot of guys contributing to the middle of the team as leaders, and fun to be around them.
Thank you for that, Coach.
Just listening to you talk, I'm taking a little personal privilege, if I could. I came in 1978, and you talked about Freddie Bassana, who I just spoke to just the other day and been in touch with him after all these years since 1978. I just feel really fortunate, as you mentioned, being around University of California at Berkeley, and just a sundry of guys that I met there playing all different sports. You're just talking to me, had me flash back on some of the guys I knew playing rugby when I was just a tyke. The Greg Bracelands, the Paul Jones, the Michael Bryans, the Hex, those cats, man. The Houghtons, those cats were real. And talk about taking your hard hat, bringing your lunchbox. If anything kept me in the stands watching rugby, It was knowing that I'd be being cast like that without pads. But I also knew of all the things that you talked about, being grateful for everything and entitled to nothing. And, starting where I began this conversation as a guy who walked on and became a starter, became a captain, at 5'9.5" and 175 pounds, that meant nothing to me to be able to stand up against anybody that I played against because I knew I was playing with. And they believed in me. And having coaches like Mike White who knew of me and then just took me under his wing, and my man, crazy man Joe Cap, that guy, and even little Roger the Dodger. Talk about some folks, man. That was just very real. And so as I start this, I enter into this question with you. We ask everybody, and I just mentioned a lot of stuff that just clouds me when it comes to this. But what is your bear territory moment? Define a special, notable, inspirational moment you had in your life being part of this Cal community. It could be before you came, it could be when you played, it could be being a coach. But what would you say is your one of many, I'm sure, bear territory moments, Coach?
Yeah, it would have to be about players, right? Maybe national championship moments after the game. The players are pretty far away. It's a big paddock we play on, and I see the players before the game, and then I see them up close again at halftime for all of 5 minutes, and then I see them at the end of the game, at the end of that last 40 minutes, and I guess my memory is it's so clear, and I think it's the thing I'll remember. When they throw that last shovel of dirt on my face, I think I'll always remember the players in that moment. There's a bit of jumping around after you win a championship. There's that thing, and then things settle down a little bit for a moment, and that's really the first moment you get to look at the players, and really see them and see their faces, and they're gaunt typically, and they might even have dark circles under their eyes. If you've seen somebody finish a marathon or something, you've seen that look before, right? That hollowed out look. And yeah, the players have that look. They've given full measure. They've given everything that they have to give. And
Yes, sir.
they've given more than they probably have to give. It might be a breakthrough mentally for their life, but it's not healthy to do that all the time, right? That's not a healthy endeavor to give that much, to deplete yourself that much. And you wouldn't do it for yourself, right? There's a moment there where you'll only do it for the guy next to you and for the team, maybe for your alma mater, maybe for your university. Yeah, but to see those guys in that moment where they've given everything, and I know that they've thought about that moment before. I know they've thought about winning championships, and never when they think about it would they cry. But there's a lot of red eyes, right? There's a lot of red eyes at that moment in time. And, it might be a perfectly nice night and guys get chills right away, and they get, it's funny to really observe that moment and know that they all their defenses are gone. They can't not cry. They can't not shiver. They are so depleted in what they've given. And what I think about in that moment of seeing that is what a privilege it is for me to even be around it, just to see it, to see that kind of commitment, that level of sacrifice. It's really remarkable. That's I suppose, I've had a few of those, right? And maybe not every championship you see it, but you see it on a lot of championships, and it's pretty special.
Well, we're going to take that one for sure. That's real. That's real talk, Coach. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no, thank you, Coach. I mean, it's like I say, I struggled for a long while trying to put into words what it meant to just even have this space with you, to share some time with you, knowing just how privileged everyone in the Cal community is to have you as our head coach for the Cal Varsity Rugby program, and just everything that you've done in your time here. You are a Golden Bear through and through. And I think I speak for every Cal fan on the planet when just saying how grateful we all are for you. So thank you so much for making the time today. We appreciate you. And guess we'll end it the way we always end it and say, Go Bears.
Go Bears.
You may have noticed there at the very end that we lost Coach Clark's feed and didn't get a Go Bears from him. But wow, what an inspiration. Is there any question just how much he loves Cal? The man is the living embodiment of what it means to be a Golden Bear. In June 2025, in large part thanks to him and the unwavering support of generous donors, Cal Rugby became the third fully endowed sport on campus, ensuring that the sport will be played at Cal in perpetuity. I want to thank Coach Clark again for making the time, and I hope to see you at Witter Rugby Field this Saturday at 1 p.m. to watch our Golden Bears take on Navy. It's homecoming. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate you listening and watching. And remember, if you live in Richmond, please give your vote to my co-host, Ahmad Anderson, to be the next mayor of Richmond. There's no question he will do wonders for the city of pride and purpose. This podcast is entirely a labor of love and a reflection of how much we love our university. Please help grow this podcast by telling the whole damn world about us. You can always go to our YouTube channel to watch any of our previous episodes. And if you'd like to buy some awesome TTWDW merchandise and help support the podcast, you can always go to tellthewholedamnworld.com. We celebrate all things Cal and the prominent people who are passionate about the University of California. Do you feel Cal is the center of the universe? Do you bleed blue and gold? We want you to tell the whole damn world about it. Go Bears!